What's going on, friends? Your friendly neighborhood old soldier coming at you today from Robeson County, North Carolina, where it has finally got freaking hot. I think yesterday the temperature got close to 100. Also watching in the weather that we could be in for a very severe and early hurricane season this year, which June is typically the start of it. And if you haven't been watching, there's a hurricane that coming across Mexico and into the Gulf right now. Can't remember what the name of it was, but first, I don't know if it's the first hurricane of the year, but it's the first major one that they've really put out there. So it ponders the question what the Atlantic hurricane season is going to be like. Last year, you know, nothing really, as far as where I'm at, too bad. However, all things can change. It hasn't been that long ago since Hurricane Matthew come through these parts and flooded out a lot of people. I mean, there's still parts of this county that, you know, the FEMA promised them a bunch of stuff and then never delivered. Can I prove that? No. But a lot of people needed help that they didn't get from the federal government. Can you guess who the president was then? Oh, I shouldn't say that, right? I'm gonna get a rat's rear end. So we got Uncle Joe talking about how a 9mm bullet blow your whole lung out. Once again, he's listening to them voices in his head, you know, the one that tell him to tell people to go outside and shoot a shotgun. You don't need this, you don't need that. But he blatantly won't talk about his own son trying to go get a firearm and couldn't because of his record. Think about that for a minute. Now, Guns and Gadgets just put out a video. A lone representative from the city of New York has put a bill basically, and there's no co-sponsors to it yet, but it's all part of this whole gun control movement. And I encourage you to go to his channel and watch this particular video because it does have some interesting things to it. And what I mean by that is this, that he's proposing to allow legislation to be passed that can go through and all this, whatever the whole legislation process is. I'm not gonna get into all that. But if it were to pass and become a law, basically gun parts, manufacturers of gun parts could be sued. Now, what I mean by is aftermarket gun parts. You drop in a new trigger, basically what he was saying, if you built a gun from ground up, the parts manufacturers could be sued if your firearm was used in the commission of a crime or accidentally went off and killed somebody. I say that, I almost want to laugh, but knowing the left, still in their mindset, it's the guns that kill people. No accountability of individual actions, no consideration for the deprived and mental health of people. Just one of those things. And I'll caveat what a lot of people have been saying. We sent $40 billion to the Ukraine to help arm their citizens in their fight against Russia, but we couldn't put that money into the mental health system here. There's a lot of people that advocate against what we used to call I'm not going to say it, it's derogatory, but the mental health institutes that the states used to run, where a judge could confine a person to for a period of time And, sadly, some of those facilities were not run very well. In some cases, they were. But it did keep a certain dangerous element people away from the general public. I'm not going to say that it was always 100% successful. I'm not going to say it was always unsuccessful. But my point being was, it was an alternative judges had that they could, if a person was deemed to be mentally unstable, mentally unfit, they could be committed to and be under care, under observation. I don't want to say it was in the 90s. They just kind of waved a magic wand and started shutting these places down and putting the burden of the cost back on the family. And I get it to some extent, but also to some extent the government, state or local, state, and federal, all have an inherent responsibility to protect the health and welfare of the public. There's a balance in there. I couldn't exactly tell you 100% what that balance is, other than there's a balance in there. One of the things is these mental health institutes that judges used to be able to commit people to under a judicial order or judgment. Is that the 100% solution? No. But I think it's a solution on the right track to reestablish these places. Case example, I'm going to a friend's house right now that got a son that has been diagnosed with bipolar. In my honest opinion, he's a manipulator, but he doesn't take his medicine when he's supposed to, and when he goes off his meds, he starts doing stuff, and he doesn't want to be responsible for his actions. Well, okay, Mr. Smith, I'll call him, protect the innocent. The judge ought to be able to commit him somewhere outside of a jail. That's the problem here, where they live at. They can call the sheriff's department, they'll come pick him up, and they'll put him under psychiatric observation, but there's no actual facility that they can go to for more than 30 days. And that's where the federal, the state, and local governments are starting to fail us, is that there needs to be longer term facilities that these people can be placed in. Now, I can't speak for every state. There might be some states that still have them. Y'all tell me in the comments below. But the case example is this deprived, perverted young man in Texas all that has been put out there was in need of mental health and help. That father figure in the home, we can name a dime a dozen things that young man needed in his life he didn't have. There are those of you here that watch this channel that have admitted to me that you're atheist, and you know what? I'm cool with that. If that's your belief, so be it. But I would tell you that having God in your life, or at a minimum, living by the principles set forth in the Holy Bible, especially the 10 Commandments, go a long way. But the fact that has been taken away from the people. You say, what do you mean? People go to church. Yeah, people go to church. They go to Christian church. They go to Jewish temple. They can go to Muslim temple. Baha'i, Buddha. The problem is when you have, say, someone in school that uses the morality of the Bible to institute discipline and order, they get shut down because they said it's a contradiction. What's the word I'm looking for? I can't think of it now, but conflict of interest. Or you're trying to push people into particular. No, just telling you where I find my guidance from. Again, I don't have all the answers, folks, but I can say this, that we can spend $40 billion to help a nation that I don't think we need to be over doing anything for other than humanitarian aid. We can certainly put that money into the mental health care system here in the United States. And I know I'm preaching to the choir for the most part here, because again, what's the federal government proposing for drunk drivers? Let's go ask Nancy Pelosi now. Now that her husband got him a DUI. 10-1 when this all washes under, he'll probably be acquitted, just like the Clinton lawyer just was acquitted. But my point being is, drunk drivers are still a major threat here in the U.S. Okay, and while we're on it, illegal immigrants and drunk driving. Oh, old soldier, be careful. Might shut you down for this. You have a rat's rear end. When I was a recruiter, I recruited up in Henry County and Patrick County, Virginia. In the years I was there was a young man that was killed by a drunk driver who lived just across the state line in North Carolina. But he was up on a Virginia back highway. And guess what? He was illegal. Oh, by the way, he had already had 2 prior convictions of drunk driving. Yeah. Now he killed a boy. I think they gave him 5 years. Might have been 10. The penalties for drunk driving have, especially when someone has died, has never been strong in North Carolina. And apparently not so much in Virginia either at the time. The reason I say that, I had an uncle killed in the line of duty. He was a motor vehicle officer. He was killed in 1970 on I-95 at a way station. Okay. It was a truck with 3 drunks plowed into him and another officer. It hit my uncle so hard it knocked him into a barbed wire fence that was adjacent to the highway. The ambulance driver that got there knew him, knew the family, knew my mom's family. Told the family the last words that my uncle said was, "What hit me?" And he bled to death before they get him to the hospital, which was only 20 minutes down the road. The driver of that vehicle got 10 years, was out in 3. Mind you, 1970. But we don't see an outcry every time we hear of a young person killed drunk driving or by a drunk driver. We don't hear, hey, what are we going to do for someone that has been caught drunk driving more than twice? I think there's one state, there's a 3-strike rule. They suspend your license for life. But anyway, let me get off here, folks. Y'all stay safe, stay vigilant, stay armed, keep your eyes open, ear to the ground, keep your head on a swivel. Anyway, that's for you, Brother Kyle. I know it's been a quick minute, but y'all stay safe, and we'll yak at y'all later. God bless, take care, soldier out.